You need to control the images in your mind or else they will control you. Now, you might think that's an exaggerated statement, but it is in fact the truth. And I'll explain to you why that is. But first and foremost, I want to explain to have you understand how the mind works. And we'll do this with a simple example. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, pretty much like rapid fire. And I want you to answer it like basically to yourself while you're watching the video. So simple question, right? What color is your refrigerator? Which way does your refrigerator open? Does it open from left to right or right to left? Or does it open through the middle, right? Your freezer for your fridge, is it at the top of the refrigerator section or is it at the bottom? And for your freezer, do you have multiple doors for the freezer? Do you have multiple compartments in it, right? Now think about that for a second. All of the questions that I just asked you about your refrigerator, chances are, as you were hearing those questions, you probably close your eyes and imagine yourself going into your kitchen and opening up your refrigerator, right? Thinking about the color and remembering the shape and thinking about which arm you use to open up which doors, right? Thinking of the direction that the doors open and how many cabinets or sections, exist in your fridge, right? You just imagine yourself pulling things out in the freezer. I ask you those questions because your mind thinks in pictures, right? You needed to close your eyes and imagine yourself walking into your kitchen, walking into your fridge so that you could answer those questions. Because even though each and every day we go and use our refrigerator, right? There are probably some elements to it that we may not fully remember that we need to sort of visualize ourselves going through the process in order to remember the answers. And that's the point. Is to highlight to you that our minds, the way it works is that we think in pictures. And because we think in pictures, the pictures that we hold in our minds, right? Those are not only thoughts, but those help create the thoughts that we think, which ultimately dictate the rest of our reality. So if we think in pictures, then that means we need to be the guardians. We need to be the gatekeepers protecting what goes into our mind. We need to be sifting through and only allowing certain things. Like we need to be selective in our process of deciding what we allow enter our mind versus not, right? And the challenge that so many people face is that they don't stand guard at the fence, at the entrance, right? They just allow anything and everything to freely enter their minds. And as a result, they end up feeling so much chaos on the inside because of all of the information, of all of the pictures that they allow to enter their minds, right? Just think about all the different avenues that we can allow images to enter. And in this case, I'm referring to negative images, right? Think about all the avenues where negative images can enter our minds, right? The first example we have television, right? Of course, there's so many different networks, so many different things, but you need to understand first and foremost that with television, whatever channel you're watching, you are going to see advertisements. And what advertisements are, typically, they're there to get you to spend. They want you to buy. Typically, when you see an advertisement, it's typically so that you can end up buying the product that, from the company that paid for the advertisement. So they're conditioning you to be a consumer. And there's probably many cases where you weren't interested in spending any money, but because you were presented an offer, because a product landed in front of you and it ends up being something that now you want, you end up spending money that you weren't planning on spending, right? So it trains you to be a consumer, right? Not only that, when you're watching TV, there's a lot of people that love watching reality TV, right? But they also don't put much thought into it, right? When reality TV, I don't even know why it's called reality TV, because it's nothing like reality, right? Like I understand it's not necessarily actors that are going off a script, so that's probably why they might call it reality TV. But like, it's so far from reality, and yet people don't question it. This is not all reality TV shows, but there's so many reality TV shows where the production team, of course, they select the most flawed people, right? People that have negative backgrounds, negative history, people who are rude, disrespectful, whatever, because they want action, because they know that negativity, drama, action, fights, that these are the things that gets viewership. These are the things that get people to tune in to watch their show, right? Most people who watch reality TV, it's almost like junk food, right? People know what to expect, and they want action and they want drama. They want to see problems, right? And if you're the producer, you're almost hoping, well, not almost, you are hoping that bad things happen, and you're almost hoping that someone basically ruins their life on TV, because then there'll be so much additional viewership. There'll be so many more eyeballs watching their product, and there'll be so many people tune in because of the drama, because of the problem, because of the fights that break out, right? So reality TV is meant to be negative. It's meant to have a cast of people who are problematic, so that if you put enough problematic people in the same space, chances are they'll find an issue with each other. Problems will erupt, and then it will create great TV, right? But those are obviously negative images. Those are people arguing, people fighting, people, right? And that is what a lot of people end up consuming. It's bad for you. It's fast food, right? It's not normal. It's not the way you should be acting or behaving. But people will watch those shows and see other people acting that way and think that that's how they should be acting, right? And that's not how it is, right? And there's so many other elements to TV. Like, for example, a lot of people, when they watch TV, they use TV to watch the news. And the news is another prime example. The news, you can see it in the same light as reality TV, because the news is not the truth. See, people think that they tune into the news to be informed about the world, but the news is going to be selective about the stories that they share. And the stories that they share are not necessarily true. They're not objectively presenting you information. In a lot of cases, they're showing the stories to you that they want to show, right? And they'll frame it in a way so that they don't just present you the information to then allow you to decide how you want to feel about the story. They present the information in a way to elicit a very specific reaction, right? They want people to be in shock. They want people to experience negative emotion. They want to present the drama to you so that you tune in, so that your attention span stays, right? Because they understand that people have so many other things going on that their attention span is limited. And so they need to present the explosive news, the explosive stories. And in a lot of cases, these stories will have you feel bad, right? Because they'll show you crimes that happen. It can be crimes on the other side of the world. And you can end up, right? Like these crimes that have no effect on you whatsoever. And you can be fearful of your life because of a story you heard of on the other side of the globe, which previously, prior to the news, you wouldn't have known that event happened. But now you're afraid for your life, or, right? Like you'll be fearful of your own existence, of being in your own neighborhood, of your own city, of your own state, right? When in reality, you can go outside and you can see people smiling, walking their dogs, and you'll realize that everything's fine, right? But the news shapes people's perspective. It makes people have a pessimistic view on the world because they want to share the negative stories so that you tune in, because people love drama, people love gossip, they love having something to talk about, right? That's what sells. So if you're a news outlet, you're competing for ratings. So plenty of people subscribe to the news because they think that they need to follow the news in order to stay up to date with what's going on in the world. But my retort to that is, why would you want to be informed about the world at the expense of yourself, right? Very few people are informed about their own life, but they want to know everything that's happening in the world. I don't care to know everything that's happening in the world. I really don't, right? And I used to be interested, but now I don't, because I care so much about what's going on with my life, and I care about creating the life that I want to live, right? But most people, they're conditioned to be consumers. The same with social media, right? You're conditioned to be a consumer of social media. You're conditioned to just mindlessly scroll because you want to be up to date with everyone else's life. You want to be up to date with all your friends. You want to be up to date with all of the celebrities. You need to know all the celebrity gossip and the drama, and the issues happening with this person, the issues happening with that person. And you're you're letting your life fall apart, right? Because you're not directing your life where you want to go, because your mind is filled with all the images of other people and other things. You need to be cognizant of that, right? There's also, other, even, for example, movies, right? Of course, there are some scary movies, some horror movies, some, very bloody, nasty movies, right? Those are putting negative images in your mind as well. right? Now, of course, some people watch those movies for entertainment, but other people watch it and then be scared and then fearful, right? Like, that's not a good thing. You don't want to live your life afraid and fearful, right? You can step away from that. You can, like, I'm saying all this because I want you to understand how your mind works, and I want you to understand how what you consume impacts your life, because we become what we think about. So whatever is filled in our minds, that ends up getting reflected in our life, right? And so many people are not protecting their mind. They're allowing anything to freely enter and exit their mind. So they're basically, and they're conditioned to be consumers, so they're basically just taking in all the information from other people. Anything that anyone wants to share, they'll just accept it as truth, they'll accept it as fact, and they'll just embrace it. And then they wonder why life is so challenging and why they struggle to navigate through life, because they're living their life based on the ideas of other people, based on the images that other people have created and presented to them, and they'll have those images live in their mind. I stepped away from all of that because I want to be in control of my mind. I want to be the decision maker for the things that I want to experience, for the things that I want to have, and not allow society or other people to dictate that, right? Think about it. There's so many young people out there who are extremely impressionable, that if they see someone they look up to, a celebrity or something, or someone, right, doing bad things, they'll think that that's what they should do because someone they look up to is doing these things, right? You need to be careful about that. Be selective about the music you listen to. Be selective about the movies you watch. Be selective about, right, like, if you want to take away TV and take away social media, do all that, so you're not just constantly being bombarded with the information or the images that other people decide to present, right? When you do that, you will have more time for yourself. You will have more opportunity to reflect, and you will have more opportunity to create the images that you want to have, that you are free, because we're free thinkers, right? We can think whatever thought we want to make. We can create whatever images we want in our mind. That's why we were given an imagination, right? So if you step away from everything else, you now have peace, and you now have the opportunity to create the images that you want for yourself. You can take time to visualize the person that you want to become, the state of mind that you want to have, the body that you want to one day have if you want to be in shape, in phenomenal shape and great health, right? You can begin imagining the life that you want to live. You can insert the images that you actually want in your mind, the images that will serve you, because once again, we think in pictures. So if we're watching the news and the news is always showing negative videos, negative incidents, crime happening, all this stuff, then you're just going to be bombarded with all these negative images that are not going to serve you, that are going to make you fearful of your life and the world. And you deserve better, right? You truly deserve better. You deserve to live the life that you've always wanted to live. You deserve to create your dream life. And that happens by being in control, by stepping away from a consumer and being obsessed with trying to know everything and know everyone, and just, being able to step away from that and step into your true essence and your true form as a creator, and begin creating the images in your mind, visualizing the person you want to become and the life that you want to live, and being able to then step into that and work towards that each and every day, right? Control the images in your mind, or else they will control you. If you don't stand at the gate and stand as a guardian to your mind, then anyone can freely access your mind. And if someone or something has access to your mind, then they have access to you. And in many cases, if they have access to your mind, chances are they have access to your wallet. So if you protect your mind, then you will be selective on what you allow to enter. So when you control the images of your mind, you can control your reality, because the images of your mind are effectively the thoughts that you think. And if you choose the thoughts that you think, then you choose the thoughts and the images that serve you. And that is what ends up being created in your life, as opposed to the thoughts and the images that do not serve you, right? So that is how your mind works. You think in pictures. So you want to make sure you are selective and you are intentional with the pictures that gets created in your mind, and you are intentional with the pictures that you allow into your mind, so that you can create the life that you wanted, rather than having a life that's unfulfilled and undesirable, which sad reality is that that's the case for most people. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe as you're on the road to a million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel. And I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.